Hey out there, this is November 28th. Let me just check. No, it is the 29th. It's a Thursday here in Northern California. And it is just about exactly 5 minutes before 9 in the morning. And I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. I sure did. I went from Chico down to Novato to my sister's place there in Marin County and got to see both my daughters, and I got to see my nieces, my twin nieces, and I got to meet one of my twin nieces' fiance's parents and extended family, brother and sister, which was very pleasant. It's the Dutch family, immigrants, and very nice people. Very sociable, intelligent people. The dad, LJ, I guess his name is Jan, but he goes by, no, I'm sorry, that's JL. I think I'm a little dyslexic. I get these things mixed up. But it's JL he goes by. But very interesting fellow. And somehow Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations, came up, and it really took me by surprise to know that JL had read the book, and he brought up the invisible hand that Adam Smith talks about. But this is kind of that shadow government, I think, that Adam Smith was referring to, that there's powerful forces that are manipulating things. And, knowing that JL knew about that was very interesting to me. So we conversed a bit, and I found out that JL is a professed atheist. And, something about atheists is that, they could be the nicest people you ever met, intelligent, and I can't dislike them. I mean, I love atheists just like I love believers. I really do. And I think a lot of them are very decent, upright characters, and I find them a bit intriguing. Because personally, I find it absurd, for lack of a better term, that, not to believe in God. To me, I kind of liken it to getting free insurance. I mean, who would deny it if somebody said, look, this isn't going to cost you a penny, okay? And all you're doing is saying, hey, look, maybe there is more to this picture. I mean, to me, that's the least we can do. Because it's kind of a bizarre theory to believe that everything is just a fluke, that all creation is just a fluke. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like creating an automobile. It doesn't put itself together, but yet the human body has all these components that are necessary, rely on each other for their existence. And it just doesn't make any sense to think it would happen. There's no rhyme and reason why, without intelligence, without a rhyme and a reason, why it would assemble itself. I mean, how would it without a brain? Because it took a brain to assemble an automobile. To me, it's kind of like, this is my own analogy, is just taking a junkyard and sticking the whole junkyard in a big giant tumbler. And then trying to convince somebody that at the end of this, what you're going to end up with is a bright, shiny new Cadillac. I mean, we know the odds are not only preposterous, it's one of those things you could rightly and fairly reasonably call impossible. It's impossible. The likelihood is so infinitesimally small that it's just not going to happen. But I don't want to harp on the atheists all day, because like I said, I have found them to be very likable, intelligent people, these free thinkers and all this. So I'm not condemning them, but this idea, because JL and I were talking a little about the Bible came up, and he thinks it's all just a myth. And to me, that's really throwing the baby out with the bathwater when you say, whoa, I mean, all this was done for what reason? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And, I brought up the history of the Roman Catholic Church and how the Bible, with their authority, they had great authority upon the earth at one time. And they still largely do have a lot of authority. I mean, you don't want to mess with the, Vatican assassins, for example. When I say the Pope is the Antichrist, he's one of many. I mean, it's just the Pope du jour. So there have been many Antichrists, like Jesus pointed out. But it's these people that falsely, illegitimately claim authority, and they're a substitute, they're a stand-in for Christ. We all know if there was one man on earth that could exemplify Jesus, it would have to be the Pope. We would all agree it's the Pope. But so I'm just saying, and if you look to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they've kept the records. They think of themselves as what they call the remnant church that's really been trying to be really true to the knowledge that's been handed down to them as accurately as possible. But, this is where I learned about this, and it just makes perfect sense when you understand that the term anti has devolved, or evolved, however you want to look at it. Half a dozen, 1/6 of the other, whatever. Potatoes, potatoes. Okay, but to the neo definition, the new definition of anti, we all know, is simple. It's just to be against or opposed, right? It's that simple. Okay, that's the meaning today of anti. But originally, it's an ancient term. And in Scripture, it simply meant a stand-in or a substitute. And you can see there is some sort of a connection, a corollary there. That, I could see where they, how they derived opposite or opposition and against from this. Because if something's a fake, a phony, it's kind of... it's not the real deal, and so it's a substitute. It's a stand-in, and by nature, I guess it is in opposition and against the true example, because it's a false one and it doesn't want to lose its relevance by that knowledge. And so, I'm just saying you can understand why they would want these powers that be through millennia would want these terms to be confused so that people weren't empowered with the accurate knowledge. Because if you don't have the accurate knowledge, you really don't have true knowledge. You just have pseudo knowledge, which is worth a hill of beans. It's nothing. It's worse than nothing, because it works against the truth, because you're spewing out stuff you know nothing about. And so, but the Roman Catholic Church was very powerful, and they made it illegal to own a Bible. Okay. Basically, in a nutshell, and the consequences you could pay with your life, essentially. It was very serious, so people lived in a lot of fear of the Roman Catholic authorities, that they were going to... this is history, and it makes sense. I mean, we all have a genetic connection to our ancestors. It's just there. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in reincarnation, but I don't put anything beyond God's ability to do. Okay, so I'm not saying there's not new souls being transferred from other planets. God knows what's going on. But it's big and cosmic. We're a part of something, this eternal tapestry. And that we really can't get off this ship. So we have to learn to get comfortable with it. It's the only hope any of us have. And I like to, when it comes to righteous people, I like to try my best to comfort and encourage them. It's not easy, because I myself am and I openly admit, a very frustrated guy, because I've been witnessing what's unfolded in America for a long time. I know I'm getting on another subject here, but I got to get away from the Thanksgiving Day thing. But to sum it up there before I go on to another subject here. I left Nevada at about 9-something in the evening, Thanksgiving evening, and it was raining, and I probably should have spent the night at my sister's. She would have been happy to have me spend the night there, but I decided I want to get back to Chico, and so I left. And you get this Highway 37 that connects Nevada and Highway 101 with Highway 80. These are two north-south highways. But you got this Highway 37 is a east-west, west-east, however you want to look at it, highway. But there's this one section where there's two lanes that go into one. It's near Sears Point, where you take a cutoff to go toward the town of Napa. But I'll tell you, the visibility got so bad, got car headlights coming at me, the rain's pouring, my windshield wipers started coming apart, the rubber on it fell apart. I could not believe it. I mean, it's about a 45, 50 mile an hour speed limit. People typically will drive 60 or more out there if the traffic flow allows it. It's a one lane each direction there at one point. But boy, getting onto that, I tell you, it was so harrowing. I had to slow down literally to about 20 miles an hour because I could not see in front of me. It was utter blackness and the glare of the headlights coming. I mean, God, I wish the highway safety was listening to me because they got to do something. I mean, put a couple of street lights up there, man. That one section was so bad. And it turns out it's about a 10-mile, I guess, drive into Vallejo going eastbound. And there was an accident at the very end where it ends up going from one lane to two. There was an accident. And it's good that it ended up there because it would have stopped traffic completely if it was just where it was a single lane. But I'll tell you what, folks, I mean, it's tough being human. I mean, it's a very precarious, very tenuous existence we have in these mortal coils. And, be safe, be careful out there. And, better safe than sorry. You can never be too careful, I'll tell you what. And I just thank God. You got to thank God for those little things in life, keeping you safe because, then I think about my kids out there on these highways driving it. God, you can't warn them enough. I mean, it's like I taught my kids about rain. I mean, just imagine it's like a layer of oil all of a sudden under your tires because essentially it is a lubricant. And you can't stop as quick. You can't turn as quick. Nothing as quick, okay? And so, it's physics. It's simple science. So be careful, folks, And, that's coming from a guy that used to race, okay, on the streets when I was a teenager. And I've done some foolish things on motorcycles. And, I mean, sometimes, I've enjoyed driving fast. I've gotten a few speeding tickets in my life. But I just thank God, 45 years of driving, I've never hurt anybody. But anyhow, let's see. I want to get back on this subject of the purpose of me making this video series, okay, is that I really want to do something for humanity, for God, as God's servant, as God's friend, as humanity's servant, as humanity's friend. That's why I do it. I get a huge satisfaction from getting things off my chest. I feel like a loner. I feel like an alien. I feel like an outsider, a misfit. Something's wrong with this picture because I don't hear enough people talking the way I do. So I feel largely abandoned and flapping in the wind by the rest of the world. And I fail to believe that I'm the crazy one here because I'm well studied and researched. When I'm interested in something, I get to the meat of the matter. Okay, I get the nuts and bolts because I need to get it. I need to keep it simple. So that's what I try to do. And I've done that when it comes to the really important issues and what this fighting the good fight really comes down to. And a lot of it's just being empowered with the truth, the whole truth, and coming out of Babylon, coming out of ignorance. Stop prescribing to the ignorance is bliss philosophy. We got monsters that are running roughshod over us for thousands of years, the same crap that's been going on. Now we got this neo-feudalism, and it has everything to do with financial stuff, economics, money. This is literally like the power of Satan through these entities. Human entities are working advertently and inadvertently against the welfare of the people. And I'm trying to comfort people, but like I said, I am often just so tired of the insanity, okay, and just seeing it so clearly, but feeling like not enough people, way not enough. I know some do, but when you do, when you really get it, when you really are a Christian and you pray the Lord's Prayer, okay, and you're fighting